So, hi
Hey.
everyone. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, so this is going to be recorded, and once after the event, we'll make sure to post it to our YouTube channel. So without further ado, Nic Parris, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Sorry, I'm like really blurred out. So there we go. Hello, my name is Nic Parris, and I'll walk you through who I am as human being. Go from there. Yeah, I'm just trying to share my screen. All right, so yep, first off, as you can see, my name is Nic Parris. I am currently a professional storyboard artist and a character designer, more like for like freelance stuff. But basically, where I've worked in the past is I started like in like smaller studios. I worked for Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, TV on like Trolls, and I also worked at Nickelodeon. But to like I guess like I'll start also somewhat from the beginning because I find, especially since you guys are students and you're about to be, I forget if you're almost like graduating or like you're still figuring out stuff, but at some point, after like school's done, those walls come down and it's the whole pressure of like, what am I doing next? Basically, I my start was I started in Virginia, got like a little scholarship to this school that doesn't exist anymore, sadly, called the Art Institutes, where then I flew over to California and started going to school there. And I majored in media arts and animation. And after that, I was actually in a small studio called Brandissimo. It was my first like first professional gig. So I try to explain to people that starting in small studios isn't a bad thing. You Oddly enough, it's kind of funny. I always find you appreciate it more being in the bigger studios if you start from the smaller ones. That's just how I feel about it, which is like, these day and age, I'll like hear people be like, "Oh, I can't believe this is happening," and it's like, "Wait, what's your first job?" And it's like, "Oh, Nickelodeon." I was like, "Yeah, I was in small studios for a while." So, I spent the first like 8 years of my career in smaller studios. Although I keep forgetting I was at Mattel for a couple years, and that actually isn't a small studio. Um, but I actually started, I wanted to be a character designer first, but I actually ended up being a Flash animator. So I was doing Flash animation for quite a while. Um, I started like I said, Brandissimo doing just animating little online avatars for an online world called the NFL. It was for the small company that worked for the NFL. I think it was called, oh man, what was it? NFL Blitz Zone or something? Man, it's been so long. But my job was basically taking characters that were pre-designed and then animating them in 2D in Flash so that they would have like three clickable states. And so I did that for a while until I got this job offer that I thought was for Nickelodeon, so I was kind of geeking out. And it was actually for this game show that you can find clips of it on YouTube called Brain Surge. And so what they were doing is they were doing little flash games that we'd animate these little flash games, and then they would basically put it on screen for the kids to guess the answer. So we'd do the basically the situation of what the game host would talk about, and then the kids would answer the question, and then the answer would be animated for them on screen. So we were animating all that stuff. So it was one of those moments, though. I just vaguely remember being really excited because I thought I was like, I did it. I'm at Nickelodeon, and then dry first day, and I'm on a Hollywood soundstage, not even remotely close to Nickelodeon. I think the biggest highlight probably there was actually seeing I saw one of the Jonas Brothers in like real life because they were filming their show on that set. So that was pretty funny. And then seeing all like the little girls like freak out because he was just standing there. So I mean, yeah, it was interesting. And then seeing a lot of like the kind of like stage parents who were like excited their kids were on a game show. So that was like my first experience for Nickelodeon, but not at Nickelodeon. And then after that, I worked at Mattel where I was working on Barbie stuff for like 3 years, which is kind of funny. So I worked for the online department, and I was actually designing fashion for the little girls' avatars for this online world called Barbie Girls World. It's not up anymore, but my job is basically to basically design fashion, which was kind of funny to me because all the guys in the department were on Barbie and all the women were on Hot Wheels. It was like kind of opposite. It was just kind of funny to me back then. But inadvertently, since I had to learn about fashion doing Barbie stuff, it actually helps a lot with my character designs. So whenever characters need like certain kind of clothes or fashion, I actually know the terminology enough to look into it and design characters, and I can still draw up a pretty mean dress to this day because I've had to for a while. So like the cool thing is it kind of transferred over to the skills I use today, and also actually like my color palette I use. A lot of that kind of came from working on Barbie for like 3 years. So like when you see like kind of like my brighter purples, brighter pinks, and all that stuff in my color choices, it kind of came from that and just kept going from there. After Mattel, then I was at a studio called Maker, which was basically I was making online cartoons for the internet when it was like kind of brand new. So like this is like when like YouTube was like fresh and like people were calling themselves YouTube celebrities, which I had to get used to. So I was doing music videos, animating music videos for that. I was directing. I ended up getting promoted at some point to director and actually like directing some episodes for stuff for a show called Powerhouse. So I was, and I even did some voice work. Like you can actually find some of the episodes I've done, and I've done voice work. If you don't know, I was actually in a music video with Michael Keegan and wait, so yeah, Michael Keegan and then Jordan Peele. I tell people this all the time, and it always cracks them up. But it's this epic rap history music video, Martin Luther King versus Gandhi, and I'm like dead center in it when the boys come up and they're walking behind Martin Luther King. So it was pretty cool experiencing that, just like working on more like webtoon stuff. And there I was kind of doing like everything. So I think when I got to Maker, that's when I was really doing like a lot of everything. When you get jobs kind of like in the bigger studios, you're focused on one thing, but in the smaller ones, I was doing a lot. Like I was like directing, I was animating, I was designing characters, I was rigging them for flash animation. So the one advantage I tell people that's kind of cool about being in a smaller studio where you have to wear multiple hats is you do actually like touch on like everything because you kind of have to. The only downside sometimes is the pay doesn't reflect the amount of jobs you're doing, which it kind of suck. But at the same time, too, that experience it's really like it really helps, especially if you're gonna want to be a board artist or character designer, and the next steps that like who's it gonna go to next, and like the whole production pipeline of making something animated when you have to do all the jobs. So I was there at Maker for a bit, and then I ended up at this studio afterwards called Cosmic Toast that does not exist anymore. But like we were, Maker was outsourcing animation to Cosmic Toast, like in the States. It wasn't like outsourcing. It was just like the yeah, the animation was done by a studio called Cosmic Toast. So I ended up going there, which was kind of funny somewhat, just because went to the place we were sending in the animation. So I was there for a while, where I was actually directing more online projects and stuff like that. I was on a show called To Vuvies, where I was actually doing almost everything for the show. So it was character design, rigging again, background design, compositing. It was literally everything. So that job made me armed kind of with all the skills to be able, if someone was like, Nick, I need you to make a whole cartoon by yourself, I can. I just don't want to because I know the amount of work that it would take and the amount of time. So thing is, it's cool though, because it helps me my professional job now of only doing kind of like either storyboards or character design, where I know the whole pipeline. So I know to optimize, how to optimize my board so it helps the revisionists, that the background artists, the character designers, all that stuff. And then character design wise, I tend to my style is a little more, I'll like streamline things so it's a little more easier for people to be able to animate those characters or have to draw them again over and over again. And that leads me to today, or after the small studios, because Cosmic Toast was my last one. My first job in the big studios was at Warner Brothers on Teen Titans Go. Kind of funny how I got to that one. It was almost like a little bit of redemption story. And I kind of like sharing these stories because I think sometimes people don't realize the journey. I always tell people this all the time. Your journey and how you get to where you are in the art world is your own. It's not going to be like everyone else's. I know sometimes people will get a little disheartened when they're like, you find out a friend gets a job before you, all that stuff. But it's like you kind of have to remember, like everyone has their own path, everyone has their own journey, and it's like it takes different steps to get to where you're going. So like, for example, when I first tested for Teen Titans Go, I actually failed the test and I didn't get hired. So I ended up switch. I realized at this point I actually wanted to be a storyboard artist because this was for a storyboarding job, not character design. And so I decided to take an online course. It was called Rad Storyboarding Class. I think it's still around, but I don't know if Rad actually personally teaches it now. But I only got to take like half of it because the job I was on got so busy that I ended up missing the second half. But I learned enough to actually start storyboarding, a little more, correctly and stuff. So I learned how to storyboard from that class after failing Teen Titans Go test. And then come, as you know, it's crazy. 3 years later, I was like, okay, I'm ready to get out of the smaller studios. I'm ready to go into the big, the bigger studios. So the show I ended up getting a test for again was Teen Titans Go. So it was like for season 4. And so it was kind of like a redemption test for me. So I just remembered everything I did. Oh, also, quick tip when you're testing for anything, if the reason I got the test for Teen Titans Go is a friend helped me get the test. If you have questions, do not be afraid to ask them because that's the mistake I made. I kind of had that like, no, I could do this on my own. I got this. And so I kind of just did the test without asking her anything. And that was kind of the one reasons I kind of failed the test was I drew too much on model instead of being like fun and cartoony and just being loose and having fun. And I thought they needed everything to be super on model, but it was the exact opposite. So she was actually kind of upset I did not ask her any questions. Um, so yeah, that's just one of my testing tips. Definitely ask questions if you can, and don't be afraid to ask questions. It doesn't make you look weak or anything like that, because I know people freak out about that because I was kind of that way myself. So yeah, anyways, back to the redemption test. I took the test and actually passed this time, like knowing all the advice I knew from failing it the first time and, actually studying up on storyboarding and doing it a little bit on the job. And that's actually what helped me break into Warner Brothers, where I was on Teen Titans Go for a season. Yeah, I did that for a season. Um, and then I went to, I like telling this part of my story too, because it just, you gotta realize it's not always gonna be smooth. After Teen Titans Go, ended up going to We Bear Bears, but I was let go because I guess they just weren't happy with my work. But it was a little weird. It was like I was only there for 2 weeks, so I don't know how you measure someone's work exactly in 2 weeks. But anyways, yeah. So for the first time, I guess ever in my career, I was technically like just like let go and were fired. So I was just like it was just a whole month of me bouncing back, taking tests like crazy, trying to get back, get another job. And luckily, I saw a posting for a show at DreamWorks TV called Trolls: The Beat Goes On, and my friend who actually was like supervising director on it posted that they needed someone with the comedy senses of Teen Titans Go, but the cinematography of King Julian. So I was like, well, I got one of those things. And I kind of basically hit him up and told him my situation, what happened with We Bear Bears. And I got let go after 2 weeks and it was crazy. And so he basically like just had me submit all of the tests I was doing that whole month because I was testing like crazy, on top of like dealing with I like you get fired, your brain's like I suck, so you're just like I was powering through that while testing. So I sent them all the tests, got an interview, and then I ended up getting that job, which was awesome. But at the same time, it was super hard, like for me at first, because Trolls was like super feature, like cinematography, like cinematic for boards. It was no longer like Teen Titans Go, where at least the season I was on for Teen Titans Go, they were doing the movie, so they're like, we don't want any new shots, and so like a lot of it was just like Teen Titans Go in front of a couch. So this went from like crowds of trolls, like feature angles, like all this stuff I was learning about, and so at the very beginning, I was actually kind of struggling, just trying to adapt to feature storyboarding compared to just like kind of one shot perspective shots all the time. So I had my struggles at first. I almost got let go, but it was just like a warning. But because I was like missing deadlines at first, because it was tough. But as I improved and like really, put my head down and like tried to get better at it, it was kind of cool because at that point, when I was leaving that show, they actually didn't want me to leave. So it was kind of cool having that arc of like I was about to be fired again to holy crap, now they don't want me to leave. So it was kind of nice to you know, had that, knowing that if you just like work hard and like take in everything you need to, all that knowledge and like all the, wisdoms from your directors and all that stuff, it will help you. And I just kind of like telling people that because like I like telling people that part of the story because I feel like especially as a student, you're like, it's gotta be smooth, it's gotta be perfect. And, like my career is gonna be brah, and like no one messes up and everyone who's good is good. it's not necessarily like that in the beginning. Like everyone has their like rough patch and like learning curve and all that stuff. So, like if you feel like there's something you're not strong at, don't be afraid to like keep working at it, more and more to get better at it. And then after DreamWorks TV, I ended up at Nickelodeon where I was for pretty good like 4 years working on the Casa Grandes and like Loud House and all that good stuff. So that's what I was working on before, or that leads me to today, where basically I think right now I'm just seeing what the industry is doing and somewhat just like bouncing on like little freelance projects here and there. Actually, it's kind of funny right now. I'm doing more character design freelance and boarding currently. So, and which is good because I mean that's what we're talking about today. Um, oh yeah, and I already told you the whole story time then with this slide. But yeah, so like I mean that was basically the whole thing. Um, so also it's kind of funny too. I like some people just like what sparked kind of like my socials getting bigger and everybody knowing who I am was just doing like a small like storyboarding tip, and then it just kind of like blew up from there, and everyone was like, it was the first time. So like I did the normal thing like everyone does. Like I started on Instagram and like would just post art, and I like get like 10 likes, and then out of the blue I post a tutorial to like storyboard, and the next day I look and there's like over 1,000 likes, and it just like blew up from there. So I guess and it's kind of crazy. I guess like students like free knowledge. I don't know. It's weird. I guess that's what I'm finding out. So, but yeah, that was kind of the spark of that. I know you guys, so yeah, like it's basically like this kind of stuff. And it's like if you're interested in the book is on Gumroad. It's also on the shop and all that stuff. Anyways, I'm not trying to advertise that, but also just like showing some of my work. This was like some of the stuff from the book. These were like some of the boards I did for the Loud House shorts. When I was doing some like Loud House shorts, which was it's pretty fun but kind of crazy at the same time. It was basically like no matter how crazy they were, they had to be done in 2 weeks. But this was basically we had like almost like the Conan the Barbarian episode, and I was super inspired by when Primal came out around that time. So I just like went crazy with it. And then this was kind of like a noir episode I did for another Loud House short. So if you don't know, I really love detective stories. They're like one of my favorite genres, and I've been trying to write one of my own, but it's just like it's actually kind of hard to write a whole detective case, and you almost have to write it backwards. It's like you need the answer and then work it all the way to the beginning how to get there. Let me see. That's just me. Yeah, and this was like a Casa Grande's K-pop music video. These are some of the images from that sequence I did. It's pretty crazy. And then let me show you guys, because I know as students, your portfolios are probably coming up if you're not doing them already. Yeah, so this is my website. It's just nicparris.com. It's pretty easy to find. Yeah, pretty much, just like I have all my boards. I'll click through them. I was gonna actually do something with sound. I forget if I'm sharing sound. I'm screen sharing. Screen sharing sound. Hang on, sorry, I'm just double checking. Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, I showed people this from unless you've already seen it, but this is like something I did. Like I said, this is like my first gig, and so this is like a little demo reel of like stuff I did for Teen Titans Go, and then hopefully it's not too loud.
Yo, demons! We just got one thing to say. Straight out of Azarath, crazy half demon named Raven, prom queen of the evening. Best believe you little boy that's green. Mama Raven for prom queen, prom queen, prom queen. Mama Raven for prom queen, prom queen, prom queen. Mama Raven for prom queen, prom queen, prom queen. Mama Raven for prom queen. Oh yeah! Time to make an AI, baby!
Programming computers is pretty complex. We should start with something simple. Binary code.
What is this code of the binaries?
It's just ones and zeros, girl. Check it. 001 and 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and 0. Yeah, that's some good binary code.
Let me guess in on that. 001, 100. Ooh!
1. Remember when we first discovered Hawaiian-style pizza?
All right, who doesn't like pineapple on pizza?
Hawaiian style!
Hawaiian, you say?
The guy said it was good.
What am I looking at?
Is that ham?
Pineapple, y'all! The pizza got pineapple on it!
The hams and the fruits on the cheese on the sauce on the bread on the cardboard box.
It's unnatural!
Those days are over. Wait, we saw all this stuff already. They change once a year, or about every 52 adventures.
Indeed, the rock was previously inhabited by the pelican bird.
And before the pelican was that crab.
And don't forget my seagull brother from a feathered mother. He was first up on that rock, yo.
Of course I've noticed that there have been 3 other animals living there, each for a year, and they've all gone missing.
I wonder what happened to all of them.
Perhaps the rock is not the rock, but the rock monster that eats one sea creature per year.
Oh, maybe they got some sick inheritance.
They was probably picked up by some aliens, and they's getting experimented on right now!
Or they just ate each other, like what happens all the time in nature.
Good guesses all around! Except yours, Raven. That's boring! I would know. I created it once. Oh, Robbot, you delightful scamp! Can I do that? Robbot, stop! Cease all motor functions! Can I do that? Fortunately, civilization was rebuilt. But heed my warning, Titans. It's the fate of all AI to turn on its creator and doom mankind to a life of subjugation.
We's just gonna make a computer that will figure out new pizza, bro.
I do not see the dangers.
Let's go teach a computer about pizza!
Yay!
Heed my warning! Heed it! Heed! Heed my warning! Heed!
Yeah, so that was yeah, that was my like very first like big studio gig. And actually what was kind of cool though, another reason why I was like I could actually work on that show was so the Teen Titans Go process is actually different than most storyboarding gigs. You actually animate it, or sorry, you storyboard it in Flash while with the audio included. So technically, like I was actually an animatic editor on top of being a board artist. It's like both. But anytime you get anything with a song, anyways, you're going to have to do the boards to the music to sync it up. So, like for example, I mean, these are like just scrolling. These are like all the shows. So, like I said, this was Teen Titans Go first, which this was like some of like the troll stuff. So, like I said, it was like you know how Teen Titans Go is like a little more flyer. So, getting to stuff like trolls where I had to be a lot more like cinematic, like foreground character was going like like it was just way different for me. And so doing like angled shots like this and like kind of like having a totally different mindset compared to what was more like flat for Teen Titans Go at the time. It was just kind of crazy going. For me, it was like a pretty big learning curve. But yeah, this is basically this plot was actually luckily enough I got the detective episode, so it's kind of like the premise here is that Cooper keeps guessing everything because he's a detective, so they're running away from him so that he doesn't spoil the surprise gift. So that's why they're kind of like running from him. But yeah, it's just kind of goofy. Let's see. This was Casa Grande. I mean, if you guys want me to play a few more videos, I can. It's up to you guys. Do you want me to like? I could play like a couple more. You can see some like my work in animatic stage. Let me see. I'll play like one more. This was kind of like my most recent. It was for this show called Zokia Planet Ruby.
Only tell it to you once, better listen right. Get in tight. Holiday future, that's the go-to going in the night. You ain't rocking with us, homie, that's fine with me. But if you don't want no holidays, I gotta say that they don't want these. Need to get your vibes right. Everybody trying to live a fine life. Yeah, you coming hungry for the limelight. Mood killing, cool villain, leave them with an empty plate. They just trying to celebrate. They don't need you anyway. Might let them live their life better if you gone. And all they can remember is a stone.
Yeah. So like this is like my most recent work that I've done. But yeah, this one was all done in Storyboard Pro, so I had to manually, change the panel stuff and all that while doing the storyboards. But yeah, so I just wanted to touch up on like kind of my history and then some storyboarding. And now that I know you guys want to focus more on character designs today, but I just want to touch up a little bit on my history of storyboards. My history for character design is kind of funny. I think like a lot of you that might be in here, I first actually wanted to be a character designer. Storyboards, I don't even think I had storyboards on the mind when I was going to school and all that stuff. I wanted to do 2D animation and character design. I think those were like my two. But at some point, basically what happened is I think around the time I was at like Cosmic and I was just I kind of reached that point because I was in small studios for like 8 years. I was like, okay, I'm ready to be in the big leagues. So that's when I realized also as an animator. So as an animator, you animate from the storyboards, and I realized I wanted to be the storyteller. So that's why I was like kind of ended up switching. If you're wondering why I switched from like character design to animation, it was just because at the time, I mean, I think everyone will tell you this, but character design's really competitive. Like don't let it discourage you at all. It's just it is competitive like everything else now, and you just kind of have to like do something that kind of get your style to like pop up from others. Unless at the same time too, if there's a show like you want to work on, if you could show you can implement that style and put that in your portfolio along with some of your own original stuff, that will help your portfolio. So I mean, for example, like my characters, this is literally my portfolio, and like my character design stuff is all my stuff. I think because mostly a lot of the stuff I've done I mean, this was actually for a client. These character designs, anyways, were for a client. So, I'll do these things like called pose pages where they'll pay me and I'll basically design the character and then make sure the character from a page. So then I'll do like expressions and poses and all that stuff for them. But I think what's helped me kind of get gigs now for character design is the fact that not to sound like braggy or anything, but people will see a design and be like, that's a Nic design. Like I've had friends be like, yeah, that's definitely your style. And I guess apparently I'm known for big eyes and big mouths. I don't know. I have a friend that's always like, I know that's yours because you drew a bunch of big mouths, even in my storyboard. So like, I guess it's just like one thing, one of the traits I'm known for, I guess, besides, I don't know. It's, if you're also, if you're wondering where my style has come from too, I think it's just like a Frankenstein of everything I've worked on. So it's like, Two Titans Go and Trolls and like when I was on Trolls, one of the guys worked on Chowder. So like he would show me his boards and like his shorthand for characters for boards. And like I think a lot of that like Chowder's influence kind of like merged into my own designs. So you could kind of see it here and there, but it's also just like a merge of like everything. Because like even being on Casa and Loud House and all that stuff, like for example, trying to see if I have any design. I feel like some of these human designs, like I feel yeah, like definitely like some of these human designs, I feel like were from like Casa. That in I remember. I think I was referencing. I think my friend had me referencing almost like Kim Possible. I'm trying to remember. It's not exactly Steven Silver though. It's almost like no, there's some like Steven Silver in it. I can kind of see it. It's kind of been a minute, but every show you work on, it'll inevitably kind of sneak into your own style. So it just happens. And then walking you through like so like when I do like character designs like this actually came from, and I'll tell people this all the time. So the secret, like a lot of my designs are actually influenced from vinyl toys. So I'll like look at toys and I'll basically just design characters off the like fun shapes. Like I'll show you an example. Like if you do not know about Pinterest, you really should. It's really awesome and you can just gather all your references you have together. So like I'll literally I have like a whole like board and like for example like this, right? Like I'll take the shape language of this toy and think like that's where like some of my character stuff will come from. So it's just like really looking at the fun shape language of things. So you can kind of see it even from here, like seeing this compared to this cover. It's kind of just like taking some of the fun shape language from what I've gathering stuff from like toys and stuff. But that's where like a lot of my inspiration will come from. So Pinterest is definitely recommended to just gather a bunch of references you might like, and I do that for characters. I do that for like backgrounds. I know if people are doing backgrounds, I'll like compile a bunch of stuff that I'm interested in. And let's honestly like you guys today have like endless reference. I tell people this all the time. It's like growing up for me, I had to literally print stuff out on paper, and we didn't have this much art. Like I know I sound like an old man. I'm back in my day, we had to use paper and dial up. But yeah, no, it's true. You guys, I mean, that's why like I'll see amazing artists and then go to their age and they're like, I'm only 19. And I'm like, what the? But no, like seriously, just use, tons of reference. And then I even have like character reference for stuff like I said, just finding stuff that like inspires you and like experimenting with it. Um, I'll do character studies too. Like sometimes I'll try to basically like okay, so like I'll walk you through the history of like actually what made me reboot my style. So going back, like a lot of you, if you're still doing, I don't know if you are, but I had the history of drawing all anime. So I was one of those kids. When I went to school, I was drawing anime up until a point where basically one of my teachers pulled me aside. He's like, "Look, you're good at it, but it's going to be hard to find a job in America with that talent," which I know now. It's funny. It's shifted. A lot of shows now are like going anime style, but back then it was true. And so like he was just basically saying like you need to like kind of find a like a new style so that you could find work easier here. So I remember specifically actually like just like I stopped drawing anime. It's still I mean it's still somewhat influenced in my work a little bit today, but I ended up like just like kind of just starting over. One of the first artists I actually started referencing was Sean Galloway when I was like trying to actually develop a new style. It was like way back then. I think if I remember, everyone I drew back there was like super like had like chicken skinny leg proportions. I don't know why, but anyways, like I just remember that was one of the first artists. And then like I said, from working on different shows, it's kind of like each show has helped me like form kind of the style you see today that I draw. So that's where it all kind of came from, was just kind of starting over and then Frankensteining things together and things I like taking eye shapes I like from this and putting it on, these body proportions I like. So kind of stuff like that. And yeah, so yeah, yeah, this was like trying to think if there's anything for character design other than that. What am I doing for character design? Yeah, sadly, like I can't really show you much of what I'm working on now. I think everything I've worked on now is like NDA for character design wise. Most of my board stuff is out now. I don't think yeah, I think everything I've worked on storyboard wise is aired. Character design though, it's under wraps or in development, so I can't even show it. Let's see. I guess that's it for like me talking about myself. I'm kind of ready. I guess like if you guys want to, if you had questions or like, I was actually gonna like design a character while we talk. Oh, actually, real quick. Let me show you a process because people ask me this real quick. They'll ask like, what's my process for making a character besides like I'll I'll do the thing where like you kind of pick like a random thing from the randomizer wheel. So, like I'll literally go online, use one of these wheels, and you just basically I forget if there's sound. Don't need the sound though for this. It'll get annoying. All right, cool. So yeah, like I used to do this on stream as Twitch, is like I would basically like pick what it is, so like a Viking, and then I'd have two other wheels that would be the genre and what they're doing. So I can even show you that, for example. For like one time we did a noir chef delighted. So it was like showing the chef guy noir. So I did like the black and white look, and then him being delighted. Had this one that was retro intergalactic overlord loving. So it was just like taking these random like three words and then turning them into characters. Romance zookeeper tent. I don't know. I always think romance means long flowing hair. Steampunk pole dancer board. Yeah, like I said, dude, having just like random words will really help you just one, like push out of your comfort zone and like try to do something different. Musical ringleader or gangster stunned. So, had to have the ringleader and the gangster singing. Or they were stunned. Oh yeah, because they're supposed to be singing, but they're stunned. Another exercise I'll do that is actually pretty fun is I think you guys may have seen this too, like the silhouette thing. You just like make little silhouettes and then you draw on top. I actually would do that as a warm up, which is kind of nice to kind of just have like random shapes and then just let the brain let loose a little bit. So yeah, you'll start with like any of these shapes and then draw on top of them. Trying to find the matching one. Where are you? Where's the matching one for this? Did I move them? Yeah, so like when you draw over them, they'll look like this. You just basically lower the opacity on draw on top. But I'll do heads first to kind of like warm up. Just let the brain just be loose. And this is kind of showing like the process of like how I'll start with that pose and then silhouette on top of it to just get the shape. Just like doing the silhouettes, like I said, it's a nice little exercise to basically like push your proportions, because I'll feel if you go straight to drawing sometimes you end up becoming too tense. Like you're like you start overthinking, whereas like if you're just making big strokes of solid color, kind of just like going with the flow and making a new character without it's almost like think of it in terms of like if you're a board artist, you need a thumbnail first and just get the first draft out, or even a writer, like you just need to like let the brain flow and get the first draft out. It's kind of like that's what silhouette for character design is. It's like just having fun with the proportions and then figuring out and drawing on top of it later. So like this is the final design, and this is like when I used to actually pull the colors for my characters. With if you guys have ever gone online and see those like color generators for people who have color choice problems, I tell this to people all the time. One, if you have like a theme in mind, like just kind of Google it. Like for example, and this is the advice I've gotten from professional color designers. What you do is like let's say you're like, oh, my character is very spring, right? You'll just literally go in and type autumn color palette and it'll pop up. Yeah, so like literally get your color palettes from just searching them. Like you'll get autumn color palettes. It's that easy. Like it's weird, but that's the advice I've gotten from professionals every time. They're like, if you know what kind of color scheme you want, or if you've seen a show that has color scheme you like, just take from that and like put it in your designs. But that's basically my little tip on color, and that's basically what I did with this design. Is I used the color palette generator, and then I use these colors for this character. Which is funny enough, I've had so many people say this looks like Alex Hirsch for some reason. That was not my intent for the record, but this is kind of another example where just silhouettes to solid color as well, like line art and color. So kind of have just I know I wanted to do kind of like a superhero kind of esque thing, and what I did is I don't know, just kind of have fun with the shapes. Then I just drew on top of it. Pose. Let me see. So yeah, like I said, I highly recommend just doing silhouette practice to, kind of push your boundaries. If you feel like you're in a kind of a rut where every character design's feeling the same, don't be afraid to like design the character and then do a silhouette on top. I've done that as well. Like you'll draw a character and then like let's say you want to push the proportions, then you would draw the silhouette on top and like make the arms bigger or the the legs smaller or like shrink or enlarge the torso and then just like, draw it again. I mean, that's the whole point of character design, right? Is, taking different shots at like shape language and all that jazz. All that jazz. I think that was my quick tip on that. Yeah. So I didn't know if I think I'm open to, I guess if people have questions and I can try to I can design a character while talking or something like that. That way you can kind of see my process a little bit. App open. But yeah, I forget. Find. What are the questions usually for this? I forget. How does the Zoom work?
I believe if since you're a co-host too, there's like a Q&A like tab on the bottom. But if you want, like I could like read the questions off for you and while you work, if you want that.
Let me see. I'm trying to see if it's because. Oh, I see it. Oh, technology. And one of those, what? But should I just do the Q&A tab, not the chat, right? Just Q&A. Q&A.
Yeah, I think so because we asked people to put all their questions in the Q&A chat.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, so if anyone has some more questions right now, please put them in the Q&A section.
Right, drawn on stream. Let's see. Stephanie, you think you have any recommendations for what I should design? I'm trying to think. What should I design? Any request? Well, now because request just means it'll be fan art.
No, don't ask me that. That's too much pressure.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll start with the I'll demonstrate how to do one of the head silhouette things because I'll start with the head and then I'll do full body. Let me see if I end up with the different designs than what I did originally. But I'll kind of I
People
can
are
show
saying
you
you
what.
can use the wheel.
I know. It's funny I brought up the wheel and I didn't even use it. I'll use the wheel for the full body. But let me walk you through kind of like my process for doing a few heads to get warmed up. Get the old engine. It's fine. This makes me crazy. Yeah, so that I'll just let the shapes come to me. And then I'll also read over question. Let's see. Do I need to say names when I answer questions or just read the questions?
I think you can just read the questions.
Okay, cool. So my brain went to like, what is it? They do like interviews like that sometimes. Like, someone asked, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I don't think everyone wants their whole name on the internet. Please also include your address. And I'm just doxing people on a stream.
Ooh,
Where do you go?
Someone's
What's up?
requesting a clown. If that maybe can get your thought process.
Okay. I will do a clown after that. I have not designed a clown in a minute. That sounds kind of fun. I'll do a clown. Let me walk you through some of that head shape stuff though that I'll just do. I'll start going down some of the questions. Where do you go for inspiration for character designs, especially for stuff like Barbie? Oh, dude. Yeah. Barbie was like a whole thing. So like we'd actually have meetings for fashion before I'd have to go back and like design the fashions for like the girls' little avatars. So like I was basically designing the fashion for their avatars. And yeah, we'd actually sit down, have meetings, and talk about like what's artsy, what's in season right now, so I ended up learning stuff like sporty, artsy, was it posh, what other fancy terms? I don't know, but I knew I was thinking this is a funny story. I knew I was there too long when I saw a woman like standing there in her heels, and I was with a friend and we were just waiting to be seated at a restaurant, and I was like, yo, those women's heels don't go with her dress. And my friend just like slowly turned to me and was like, what? And I was like, I think I've been at Mattel too long. But yeah, for inspiration for stuff like Barbie, you actually have to look up fashion and stuff. It's kind of like, so if you want to work for like any kind of Barbie product, that's kind of the hard part. So like for example, I was doing stuff for online, but I like if I was gonna apply for a job like fashion designer, I'd have to like have a whole set of a different set of skills. Because what I was doing was just designing like, drawing fashion for little online avatars, but fashion itself, it's like its own study as well. So that's definitely where I was getting inspiration, at least for that, was I was being sat down and being like, use this stuff. Here's the fashion that's in right now. Yeah, see, it's just that simple. Like, you can go as detailed or as loose real quick as you want, but I'll just do this to kind of warm up. And then I'm like, that's too easy, so then I'll like push it a little more. Like, I don't know, maybe I could have. I feel like I always end up doing a gorilla with this shape just because it really feels like a gorilla. But I guess the key is like, how can I make it a little different? And like I said, you don't have to say completely in the line. It's just taking inspiration from the beginning shape it's at first itself. But yeah, it's just like a quick little warm up. Quick little warm up. How exactly do storyboard tests work? Do you have any tips for any aspiring board artists anxious about their first test? Yes. First off, your first test for anything, you're gonna feel anxious. That's just normal. Like even actually, I'll still feel anxious about getting a test sometimes because it's just that like it's that normal human thing of like, will I pass? Am I good enough? Blah 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 blah. So, um, the thing is just like push past the anxiety. But you're gonna initially feel it. It's kind of like for example, when actors or anyone goes on stage and you feel that like first like, oh crap, I mean, even with the actually, no, I didn't feel that today. I was like, did I feel that with the stream today? I'm like, nah, it's fine. But you'll feel that initial like anxiety at first. It's just yeah, power through it, and like once you get in the groove of working on something, you'll kind of find that you'll be focused on the work and like trying to do your best. So that anxiety will subside. But in the very beginning, you'll always feel it. Like to be honest, I'll still feel slight anxiety when I get a brand new script and I'm first starting a new board. Like I'll still feel that anxiety today. Like because I'll be like, what am I gonna, but is this gonna, and then sometimes I'll have that little phase of second guessing my shots and all that stuff. Same with character designs. It's the same thing. Like if you get a test for character designs, it'll feel like that. Like my advice though, when you're testing for anything, is make sure like follow the guidelines that they give you, but at the same time too, find a way to make your test different and a way to put yourself into it. That's the advice I've always gotten for boarding, especially where it's like you get a script and it's like, how can I make? But you follow the script, but also try to add an additional joke or some kind of gag that's not in there originally, or if you're doing some like kind of drama or something, try to find something that you could do that like represents your sense of humor or your style, um, and push that in there. When it comes to character design tests, though, it's actually more technical. Because I was talking with an art director about like character design and background design tests, and they actually, if you're testing for a show, you actually need to match as close as possible. So like you really need to study up on how the show looks. It's a little tougher with like design to completely like you just need to like match the style so they know you'll be good for the show. So like that is a little more technical, but they're always, usually from my experience of like character design tests, there'll always be a part where they're like, okay, now design this and it's your own original character but in the style of the show. I mean that's to be expected, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the reason why they hire you, is so that you can design the show and everything looks in unison and looks like it's almost done by one person. Unless sometimes you get some of those shows where they want it to look like each episode's done by a different person or something like that, and that does happen. As a storyboard artist, what are your tasks like? How long are the sequences you have to board in those 2 weeks? Well, each show has its own pipeline. Like I think the most weeks I've gotten to board something is 6 weeks. I think has been the most time, and then I believe it's like 2 weeks for roughs. or no, it'll be like 3.5 weeks for roughs, and then like, hang on. It's like 4 weeks for roughs, and then 2.5 weeks for cleans. I remember one's like shorter. It depends on the production though. It's not 2 weeks though, unless the only time I was on a 2 week deadline show was Teen Titans Go. Actually, that was 2 weeks, and that was like you had to kind of like do everything, but you basically get the script, and then it's just doing that part of your script by that like 2 weeks. That's really what the process is. But yeah, it'll basically be like, here's your script, board this part, and we need it in 2 weeks. Task wise, that's really about it. Any job in the industry, it's just as long as you can do the work and get the job done on time. It's kind of the big thing. See some kind of shape in that. What is your thought process when you receive the script and visualizing it as a board? So when I first get a script, the first thing I do is actually I'll read a script, like, and I'll just draw this out. It's kind of dumb, but like I'll get a script, right? And I'll literally read it, and then as I'm thinking of funny jokes, I'll like write notes on the script. So like I'll like add little notes like blah blah blah, add this there. And I do all this because writing is faster than drawing. So that was a advice I got from one of my directors, is like, so it's easier to write something, think it out, and then draw it later. So, and then also sometimes you'll write it out and you realize that's gonna take way too much time, so I'm not gonna board it. But other than that, I'll like do quick thumbnails. So yeah, I'll just literally do like quick little thumbnails that are like, like the key with thumbnails, one, I don't usually do them in Photoshop too much anymore. I learned on Teen Titans Go, the problem is I used to like thumbnail in Photoshop. Like I'd make all these like nice boxes and do like all this like cool stuff. And like the problem was like I was wasting way too much time drawing it. And I was being like really sorry. I know this is like, you're probably like, he's drawing really quickly for someone who says this takes a long time, but it's just years of drawing this fast. So like the problem was that I was overdrawing in Photoshop all my thumbnails, and they were like, I was even like putting shades and stuff. It was like really wasting a lot of time. But my one of my directors came in and was like, Nick, are you thumbing in Photoshop? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, you gotta stop doing that. I was like go in to like Storyboard Pro or wherever you're boarding already. At the time it was Flash, but like what you do is you kind of like just zoom out in like Storyboard Pro. Actually, I think I have Pro open here. You guys can see my goofy presentation in Storyboard form, but I'll just switch over real quick. What you do, like to do quick thumbs, one, you can make little boxes, because I've seen someone do this where, why are you not zooming out? Okay, they'll make like little boxes and do their thumbs. Probably not that small, but, and then use a bigger brush so you're not overdrawing. But if you do them all in Storyboard Pro, you need to do it this way, where you make little boxes and you put your images in these boxes. Like you'll have your characters doing this and getting all your shots organized. Oh, and now I'm doing a storyboard tutorial. Oh no. But yeah, you'll have, your shots like that. And so the cool thing is, what you could do is take these panels and actually just like, since everything's vector based in Storyboard Pro, you can actually take them and put them in a panel and increase the size and draw on top. I have a friend that was her process. She would do something like this, and then you just draw your final shot over it. So that's one thing you could do. I personally have reached a stage where I'm kind of comfortable, so I do it. I actually just rough it like already in the full panel, and it'll just be like little stick figures to get everything out real quick. I'll make sure to have your grids. But yeah, this will literally, oh, it's terrible. Yeah, that'll literally be my rough or thumbs. Another process my friends showed me they would do is they would zoom out super far, and then you just do your thumbnails like this. Like, because you're drawing kind of quick and bigger, this basically are your thumbnails are actually your rough panels, and then you just zoom back in to draw them more detailed. That's really it though. It's whatever process you want to do, but that's when I'm visualizing a script, that's what I do. I like read some of the script and then I start thumbing it out immediately, or like, while I'm reading. or I'll just have it in my head already. But I do, like I said, I write it out. If I'm gonna plus it at all, I write it out first on the script. So that's what I do for visualizing. Yeah, man. No. Exciting me. Technology. Let me see. What is your thought process when you receive the script and visualizing it as a board? Oh wait, I did that. I answered that. How do you make sure your character design can be sustained across a television show? Oh, gotcha. Like kind of like streamlined. Actually, it's funny. I remember I drew this example for someone. Um, kind of dumb. I was showing someone like how you should streamline your characters. Because like some people go crazy with the crazy detail on something, but if you just streamline, it's easier. Plus, like design wise, that is way too busy. That's like way too much to look at. I don't even know where to focus on it. But for TV, honestly, when it comes to TV stuff, one, it's gonna kind of depend on budget. If they have like a lot of animation budget, you could probably go crazy with it. Also, it depends if it's gonna be 2D or 3D. If it's gonna be a 3D show, you could kind of do like crazy detailed stuff because you got to remember it's modeled and then rigged and then they animate it, so you don't have to worry about it as much if it's 2D, where someone's gonna have to draw it over and over, or make a good enough 2D rig for it to be animated. So then you have to worry more about, I feel like you have to worry more about 2D when it comes to that, but I feel like also age. For example, if like if it's a preschool show, you'll probably want a little more simply designed so that the kid can digest what's happening on screen. Whereas, if it's crazy ninja anime, then you could go crazy detailed on some of the stuff. Plus, I guess they're good at animating that kind of stuff because I already know me. Like, for example, if someone was like animated Gundam, I'm pretty much like done. Like, it's like I could draw it barely once. But it's honestly going to come down to like budget and time. That kind of helps knowing if your design needs to be like pulled back or if it could be more detailed. But they'll also tell you too. Like the thing with the character designing or any kind of designing job is, I think someone always told me, summed it up as a designer, you're like a problem solver. So you're gonna get notes on any design for any project you're on, and then it's up to you to kind of address those notes and make sure it works for the show. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much like when it comes to that, you'll know when the design's right because they'll tell you. What's the weirdest thing you've ever drawn? Oh, the weirdest. Yep. Wait. What's the language? No, I'm like, what's the rating on this? What's the weirdest thing I've drawn? I think it was something from like a webtoon cartoon. I want to say, I think it was. Oh wait, I didn't draw it though. I just heard about it. What is the weirdest thing I've drawn though? I think it was like a weird prop. I know the goofiest thing I had to draw recently was for Casa was a giant chancla. That was pretty funny. She literally was gonna punch them with a gigantic chancla. It's the weirdest. The weirdest. Man, this is tough. I feel like I've drawn some stuff, and I'm like, my memory probably was like, I don't need to retain this information. The weirdest though. I'm gonna have to think on that one. I'll keep thinking on it when I'm trying. I'm trying to think of the weirdest thing. What does testing for a show entail? Depends on the test. For example, storyboarding, you'll get, I think, because like they're trying to cut back on people over testing, because I think like years ago it used to be kind of nuts. Like it would like storyboard these 5 pages in like a week, and it's like, what? And it was just like it was too much. I think they've been trying to like make it more doable for people, especially since a lot of tests don't pay. And I think even that they're changing to where they're actually paying people for tests now. I think. Um, Actually, no, I do know. Some shows will like what they'll do is they'll actually have you do a chunk of the show and they'll pay you for it. Um, so you're actually doing a little piece of the actual episode, and if they have to go back and change some stuff because they're not happy with it, they'll do that. But you actually get paid for that like little chunk that they give you. So usually for a storyboarding test, it'll be, sorry, my brain's like trying to think how I can make the shape more interesting. I feel like these are shoulders. For storyboarding tests, you get a script, and then you do that. You do some of the pages of the script, and it's up to you, like I said, to kind of like put your humor, your voice, something different in there, as long as following this, as well as following the script. And for like character design, for example, they'll have you. It'll be you'll do like a couple of turnarounds, design your own character, and special poses for the character. So yeah, because they'll have you do special poses, I believe, for the characters that are already on the show to make sure you can do the style. You'll also do turnarounds because turnarounds are very technical and they're very important, especially for the rigger and the person who needs to, like, the rigger and the people who will need that turnaround for the entirety of the show. So turnarounds are actually really important. I know it's not always people's favorite thing to do, me included, and sometimes I'll get kind of bored, but at the same time, they're really important to have, like, accurate model sheets for the show. And then background design test, I know you have to, like, once again, you have to like you have to design an environment that they give you from like either like a storyboard or the script, but you also have to maintain the style, and that one's super technical too. Like I said, character anything design, they like look at like little things. It's kind of crazy because like I looked at a test before and then I was like, oh, they all look pretty good, and then I had a art director who walked me through why those people didn't get hired, and I was like, I didn't even see these details you're seeing. It's kind of crazy. Like they'll even observe like kind of like your line widths and like the way you taper your lines and all that stuff. It's actually really technical. So yeah, you just kind of, that's why I tell people too, as a character designer, you kind of want to make sure you can be versatile and do different styles. Like I can do different styles. Like, okay, so these are all cartoony, right? Try to think if I could do one a little more. I say like I have like my cartoony and then like my kind of actiony style. It's a little more, I don't know, somewhat a little more anatomy going on there. But like make sure you can like implement different styles. That's actually pretty important as a character designer. Trying to see if I could get this guy to like someone a little more, I don't know, my like action style is like a little more just definitely like more shape. It's like more shape language. Or more what's that? Geometric. Oh my gosh. Big words today. Geometric shapes or something. Yeah, so like this will be like my more streamlined actiony style. I don't even know who this guy is. Who are you? Who are you? I feel like I just drew like a weird Abe Lincoln. Is this just Abe Lincoln? It's weird. I just drew Abe Lincoln. There you go, Abe Lincoln. Let me see. I thought I just showed Abe Lincoln. Let's see. Do you have any tips for character turnarounds? Ooh, yes. Character turnarounds are all about your using guides. It's like really important. Let me bring up one of my turns. Turnarounds are tough, and yes, I do have tips for them. One, definitely. Well, one, make sure they're correct. Be patient. I feel like sometimes people will rush turnarounds. But like, don't be afraid to make sure they're correct. So let's see. Everyone knows smiles, but from what I know. Yeah, so the biggest thing about turnarounds is like make sure you have these guides. For the record, I do not just use 3 lines. I just put this up for the final. I use way more lines than this. I'll like here, I'll kind of walk you through a little bit. Can't take that like a character real quick. Want to do that? A turnaround again of. Okay, you know what? Hang on. Let's see if I can design something real quick. I think I'm done warming up with heads anyways. All right. So yeah. Actually, this is too small. I usually do 8.5 by 14 for this kind of stuff. Quick. 14. Okay, right. So yeah, the biggest thing for like I can whip out something very quick. Turn around. Also, I don't know why, but for some reason I like drawing in blue because I guess it doesn't feel as final, even though most things I do could be somewhat final. See if I can send something real quick. Cool mohawk or something. I don't know. I like elf ears. I don't know why, but I think I end up drawing them a lot. Let me see. Jacket. Oh, also, I got this advice from someone doing turnarounds. You don't necessarily have to, they don't need to be in T poses anymore. If you saw, for example, my smiles one, he's like, you don't, they can actually be in somewhat different poses. They just want to make sure all the stuff lines up correctly where it should be. But it doesn't necessarily have to be them standing still anymore, unless you want them to. Like, I mean, I feel like I guess if they're standing still, it's a little easier to think about, but you don't have to have them just standing in T-pose. They can have some personality in their turns if you'd like. Although I swear I feel like I see a lot of these probably just because like time and like so there's no question about anything. They just do them like standing there in a somewhat neutral pose. See if I can whip out something. Yeah, this is like super quick. Super quick. Oh god, what did I do? It's too small. You need bigger shirt. This. Those feet are already off. Also, if you want, actually, real quick too, when I do like, sometimes if you don't want characters to be boring, it's actually kind of cool to just put them in some kind of cool perspective or something. Like sometimes when I do character designs, I'll actually draw the grid, make sure everything's in perspective. Okay, so like, yeah, if I was gonna turn around this little dude, it'd be, I use guides. I don't know what software everyone's using, but like I will use the crap out of some guides. um, yeah, so I'll have the guides, make sure everything lines up, like even the top of the head. And then from there, it's just kind of matching up. Also, a little tip secret, because I've from this, so other people do this. Once you have your 3/4, you can literally lower the opacity and draw on top of it to make sure everything lines up even correctly that way. It's a little cheat that I have confirmed other people use. But see, like now that I have this, I know exactly where the things end. And this could be my profile view, right? But what you do is like you almost treat it like, because I'm sure you guys have animated and stuff. You almost treat it like animation to where you just draw on top of the transparent one. And this will help you maintain your size easier. This would go a little forward. But yes, a little tip that I think people overlook is just draw on top of it. It'll help you maintain stuff. But yeah, like I said, I use a lot of guides. So like, this ear. Also, too, if you don't want to draw anything, because as I was advised very early in my career, draw smarter. It's not all about just drawing faster, it's about drawing smarter. Why not just copy things you already like or already look correct and put them where they need to go? Like you just literally hold shift and put it where it needs to go. It'd probably be a little the term. This is profile. Actually, it'd probably be a little more exaggerated because just shape wise, I'd like the ear to go a little off the skull or whatever. This silhouette would look a little cleaner. Yeah, you're on a separate layer, so keep trying to touch it. But yeah, it's just doing stuff like this, little cheats like that. Make sure it lines up. But I'll make sure stuff like I'll use all the guides, and as it gets a little too busy, but I've seen people like have like crazy amount of guides. If you ever feel like it's getting too busy, you can always, clear them, as you know. So view guides and clear your guides. But no, like you can never use too many guides if you want to be correct. That's the thing. I think people are always like, no, you got to do it with just 3. I'm like, bro, you just as long as it's correct, that's all that matters. You can take out the guides later. And then I remember such a weird another story time. I remember this guy, I was trying to teach him how to do a turnaround properly. And I walked him through it about using these guides. And then the guy had the nerve to submit the same incorrect turnaround, but he put the guidelines in it. So then it showed the mistakes even more. And I was like, this is why you use guides. And he's like, it was a little frustrating because I'm like, dude, I took time out of my day to teach you some stuff. And then you literally tried to submit the same thing and then lie to me to my face and be like, I redrew it. I'm like, you didn't redraw it, you added guides after the fact. Like, cause like you could see it, like the chin wasn't lined up because he put in the guides. It's like, this is why you use guides. It was just frustrating. I don't know, man. It's a little frustrating sometimes when you try to help someone and instead of redrawing or like, you know, putting in the work in, they would rather lie to you. Bro, it's like trying to help you out. So example, like since this was already transparent, like this leg is already like technically profile. Now I just move it to the center of the body. So it's like little cheats like this will help you get your turnarounds. You'll get them done quicker and you'll get them done correctly. Because like I said, like think about it like this, right? If this was one of the shows where they were 2D puppeted, they would use this leg for profile anyways. Like this would be the same leg. Like you might need to like, you know, skew it so it doesn't look, you know, slanted back or skewed back. But honestly, that might also be because I didn't flip it. I don't know if you guys know about, you should know about the flipping thing, right? Like if you flip your character design, you can see the also that things are incorrect sometimes. But this is like super rushed, so I can't really. I mean, this is like a rushed design, so I don't know if it'll show as much. But definitely flip your drawings. For example, I'll see this a lot with just really quick. I'll show you like the issue I usually have to skew. So my style, because I'll do these kind of eyes, and like it'll look good here. But then as soon as I flip this drawing, I swear they're always skewed. Yeah, see, like it's kind of skewed. So like then you kind of go back and transform and skew them back. But I have this issue a lot with mine, so like try to make sure they're actually good when they're flipped and fix them so it's a little rounder. But that's just another pro tip. If you definitely flip your designs so you can see if yeah, like even those brows, look at that, man. They're like super skewed. But it's just like little details like that. Transform. Now it's better. But yeah, definitely flip your designs. Anyways, that was a little bit of a tangent. Yeah, so going back to this, like I said, since you're technically this arm too, could actually take this arm and be done with the arm and leg already. But it's like it's little things like this that save you time. See, boom, you got your profile. And then I'll show you one more time. Front or back, I don't know, 3/4 back. I feel like you rarely use 3/4 back unless it's like over the shoulder. I know it's one of the most complicated ones though. I'll try doing a 3/4 back from this, but yeah, I would just draw on top. Oh, actually, sorry. With 3/4 back, usually what you do is you flip it. So you'll flip that. So like you see, like it's gonna be, well, technically this would be, I usually have this so it looks like it's rotating, which always looks nice, you know, for a turnaround. This profile. Link to this. Where are you? That's that. This is also why you should label your label your layers, but no, I mean, it has a function where you can hit control and find everything quickly. So honestly, I usually will have, so it actually looks like it's an actual, you know, turning around. And I didn't do the front, but you know how fronts go. But I just wanted to show real quick the like 3/4 back. So you flip, you take your 3/4, you flip it, and you just kind of make sure things are lining up and that, you know, the ear would go where it needs to go. Oh, sorry, I have the guide there. I don't need. So like I'm lining up this ear to make sure it's like 3/4. Shades are here, so I'd use that guy there. It's just kind of like I said, if you've animated before, doing like a turnaround is almost like thinking like an animator. Because you're just kind of like moving stuff so it turns and like stays where it needs to be. The collar would actually be up because it's the back of a jacket. You could have, if you want to maintain the wave, we go front now. Yeah, like I said, these are like little cheats that help. I mean, technically it's not cheats; it's just using the software and being, drawing smarter. But it's kind of fun. A lot of people don't, you know, do this. They'll be like, "Nah, man, I gotta start from scratch." I'm like, sure. But now this is, like I said, since it's a very technical, turns are technical, which I think is another reason people get a little like bored because it's a little more not as fun as, doing crazy shape language and all that stuff. It's just make sure everything lines up to where it should be. And then since this is the back, foot will actually go kind of like that. Yeah, that's a quick little this will be the back of the hand now instead of the front. Yeah, so that's a quick like how you get some of those angles out quicker. Like I said, just once you have your 3/4, just draw on top of it, use these guides. And then like I said, as you finish, you can then just like clear them. But you don't be afraid. I've literally seen someone with like 40 to something line guides to make sure everything's more precise, like tons of these lines. Because like I said, it's technical. But at the end of the day, when you're done, you can literally like, turn it in with just 3. It's like, yeah, just plop it on that model sheet with like only like 5 lines for sure. Yep, totally only used, like 4. But yeah, so that's all it is. Don't be afraid to use guides, like I said. I wanted to save this. So yeah, that was my tips for turnarounds. If there's any character stuff. When was your least proudest moment and did you learn from that experience? Yeah, if you're here for the backstory, yeah, me getting fired was probably my least proudest moment. I learned it's just tough. Yeah, because like that's probably my least proudest moment was getting fired. I was pretty messed up for it was weird because like the timing of everything was weird. I just moved out on my own and I really couldn't afford to be fired. So it was one of those like I feel like crap, but I don't have time to keep feeling like crap. So like I tell people this all the time, like you might have failures along the way, but it really is like I know this sounds cliche and cheesy. It is really how you pick yourself back up. So like, I get that happened to me. So I had to like pick myself back up, test, get a new gig. And I just kind of learned like you gotta be on your game. I feel like that was the biggest thing was like, making sure you can actually do the job and keep the job. Especially when I got my warning about like missing deadlines on trolls because like I was learning so much about cinematic storyboarding that I've never learned before so quickly that I just couldn't keep up at first. But I just learned like, hey, if I want to keep this job, I gotta put my head down and keep pushing. Like, so it was just like what I learned is like if you're gonna have your hiccups, just like pick yourself back up and get better. Like that's all I can tell you. Like that's probably my least proudest moment. When sticking to a style, how can you keep it that way when exaggerating characters? Ooh, that's a good question. Keeping the style. That is interesting. Or not interesting. I'm trying to think. How do I think about that? So shows I've been on, because the thing is, like, you're always gonna do like crazy expressions where you break the style a little bit. Um, but honestly, that someone almost adds to the comedy a little bit. So here's the thing. I feel like when you're matching the style, you'll find there's like a formula to each character style to maintain that style, if that makes sense, right? So let me think. For example, should I think of a show? Like, I don't know, like if you've ever seen like Gravity Falls or The Simpsons, right? There's certain traits on characters that help you maintain the style. It's then you can push some of the proportions and maintain the style, but you just need like there's like a formula each show has, and it's like little details. Like let's say, like you have a show you're working on, you have to have the eyes connect. So that's like, or like let's say a Muppet. I'll use a Muppet. I feel like I can design a Muppet pretty quick. So like the biggest things of a Muppet are the fact that the eyes connect, some kind of nose, and then like the mouth. And this is a Muppet, right? So like let's say I'm designing like just a simple Muppet character. Thing is there's certain traits of the style that you have to maintain to keep it in that style, but then you can exaggerate. So Like let's say that's my Muppet character, right? But then I want to do something kind of crazier, like you're saying. So let me think. If you want like a really big dude, but you really want to exaggerate it, have it be bigger proportions. And I forgot to make a new layer. So you have something. Big dude. Little legs. So it's something that I need to maintain the Muppet style, right? Somewhat. So what I'll do is I'll like have these kind of cool proportions that are like bigger, different, exaggerated proportions I might want to work with. But then I'll remember the style of the show. There's like certain traits I have to maintain. So top of that. Honestly, with Muppets, it's just the iconic face. It's kind of all you need. It's like weird, but that's all it needs is like then you just need once again the eyes connected. You can have a big brow, maybe a square nose. But the thing is, it still fits because you've maintained that like little trait that the Muppet needs, which is the eyes connecting in the nose kind of thing. It's like it's interesting. It's like it's all it takes is like little details of maintain a style. It's like taking traits that are in that style and having it being your different character, but then you change almost like the body proportions. So this could still read, as a Muppet, even though he's like a big guy and it's exaggerated, like if that makes sense. It's really just taking like for example, you watch The Simpsons, right? And anytime they have a celebrity person on The Simpsons, they maintain the style by following that formula of like, same again, it's like the eyes connected, limited facial feature detail, and then the shape language of like hands have to be the same, right? So like for this Muppet guy, he'd have like, these like round four fingers, right? So that's also a thing. It's like when I do this like new character that I know, I need to have like, round and not like sharp. Like I know this is like the Muppet style, right? So like you'd want these both hands to be round instead like I'm not gonna do something that would break the style and have like square hands. Like I'm not gonna do this because this would break the Muppet style. I mean, it's just like kind of like simple shape language and stuff that's iconic to the styles, how you maintain the style of the show you're working on. It's finding those like little things, but then like pushing the proportions more, but maintaining details that make it that show. So yeah, like I said, like no matter what, you will always like you can always tell when someone's inspired by a Muppet design because of this iconic face and like the round hands and or the round fingers, I mean, and just kind of stuff like that. But this could literally be a Muppet. I mean, it even works if like I designed a dinosaur and I did the same kind of thing. I mean, like it would fit in that because of the eye shape and the round stuff. Like this would be another Muppet. Kind of stuff like that. It's like I said, it's like little details. It's usually, I feel like most of it's usually in the face and like just the line weights and like the shape language you use in the show, and that'll help you maintain it like staying on style. What resources have you used to help you improve as an artist? Like, are there any books or other online resources that you have used? I mean, like I said, I mean, I showed earlier, I just have Pinterest. Throughout like designing stuff, it's just me getting new inspirations and like looking up stuff I'm into. Cartoons I'll watch. I mean, I still watch cartoons. I'll get inspired by that. When it came to improving my board, I'll start designing a clown now. But when I was improving my boards improvement just came from working with different directors and then learning on the job. And once again, someone's like, how do you learn from, like kind of like learning from your mistakes. It's kind of like that cliche line. It's like you learn more from your mistakes, which is true. Whereas if everything you do is right. Sorry, I'm trying to think how I want to do this clown. I'm gonna kind of show you what I do to start silhouette. So like, yeah, just like learning from mistakes, learning on the job, all that kind of stuff. And then I guess if you're curious, like when I'm doing the silhouettes for my designs, I do kind of have in mind already what I kind of wanted to what I kind of want it to look like, but it's only like vague shapes of like how I'm thinking they're gonna look. It's not like me totally being random. I'm actually am thinking like what does a clown look like since you asked me to design a clown. Also, real quick, because I like showing people this, my friend introduced me to this little app called PureRef. I don't know if you guys have ever used it, but it comes in super handy when you need to just like drag like image references, and it stays on your screen on top of Photoshop, so that's always kind of cool. But you can literally drag like little image references. I don't find like clown, but you can drag all your references onto this like little board while you design and stuff. I have oh my god, I forget clowns can be kind of crazy. Um, what is it? I have a two monitor setup, so it's usually on, like another screen. But you can literally drag stuff from the internet and it'll go in here and stay in here. But yeah, it's just called Pure Ref. And then, if anyone needs it. I believe it's you just donate to get it. Um, help the independent developers. I'm sure there's other softwares that do it now, or other apps that do it now too. I'm just trying to find. Oh my god, I forgot. Sorry, I'm googling clowns and like everything's kind of creepy. I'm like, why are kids scared of clowns again? Oh yeah, because there's a bunch of scary images of clowns. But yeah, you can literally just like drag references, and then I'll probably drag like I don't know. Maybe I'll look at like clown vinyl toy. I know this is all off screen, but see if they have any cool vinyl toys. And to, like I said, I'll like reference toys all the time for my stuff. Got a goofy shape to it. Like some of that. Kind of looks cool. Yeah, I'll just drag like references and get inspired from that. Same with like if you're curious, because of I learned this on the Barbie job, I still look up fashion. So I'll actually like Google stuff like clown fashion. And that'll kind of help me also just kind of like think what do clowns wear? Maybe there's like a different approach to your standard. You know what I mean? Like you'll have, like this, for example. Yeah. What is this? Like I literally typed in clown fashion and this is what I got. What is happening? But yeah, no, so like I'll still look up fashion stuff for my character designs. It helps with the little details. Like cause I kind of like what this guy's rocking a little bit. Some of these colors and the top hat. I guess this is like super posh circus. The Posh Brothers. But yeah, I'll have all this like kind of on my screen while I design as well. And like I said, once again, it's called Pure Ref. You can drag. It stays on top when you draw. But yeah, like I said, I like shape language of toys, so I'll use toys a lot. But and then I'll just do like like I know this is gonna be his torso and stuff like that. Like this is that little clown collar. Let's see, maybe have him in like a rubber hosey. Yeah, kind of like rubber hose. I'll just do the shapes like that. Yeah, stuff like this, dude. This also helps with if you're ever stressing out about posing, it kind of help with your posing too. So it's not so flat. But also, like I said too, if you really want to push your perspective, you can also use perspective grids. Sometimes I'll do that as well. Like I'll just put a little ground plane, just so if I do need to draw in a perspective, I can. But this one was kind of more flat. And for this to be perspective, I'd probably squish in this leg a little bit. Not that. Go like this. It's like coming towards us. And now it's in perspective. Yeah, something like this. But yeah, like I said, the grid helps. I usually have a ground plane just to help with that stuff. I want them to have shorts or pants. I feel like I need the big old pants that you always have. Unless I want to be like some of these modern day fashion clowns. Crazy. Yeah. It's just help me push my, like I said, you since you're kind of thinking quickly, you could kind of push the proportions quicker instead of like redrawing it and stuff. Kind of could just think a little free. Uh, like I said, it's just thinking more stuff as I'm doing it. So I don't know. It's my silhouette shape, right? And I kind of go from there. Kind of go from yeah. Should a bit be a little darker, or sorry, lighter. And then yeah. Like I said, it's like it's always a first draft with character design, so you can always edit stuff as you go, or completely redraw it again. That's another thing too. Like on the job, you'll be redrawing characters and doing multiple passes. So, you know. Also, don't feel discouraged if like they're ever like, yeah, let's start over. I mean, that's just part of the process. Especially if you're in visual development work, that's literally the job. Like you're just, trying to design characters, getting notes back, and then they tell you what they like and don't like. Is there anything cool on here? You gotta have the big nose, right? Something like cool. Whoa. Hey, Photoshop's doing that thing. Just, let me address another question while I design a clown. Let's see. Uh, thank you for so much to this. Character designs. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback. What was your favorite project you worked on, and what is the show movie you would like to work on? Ooh, that's a good one. My favorite show. Hmm. Here's the like. I think my favorite show was working on Casa, just because like the crew and everyone was there. Nickelodeon Studios vibe is pretty cool. It honestly feels like you're back on like an art campus, which I thought was kind of nice. Um, and then yeah, I just feel like the crew. The show was pretty tough though, like because the thing with like Casa Grandes and Loud House, it's like anytime they write these two words, the family, you're drawing like 12 characters on a panel. Like it's a lot of characters. So I enjoyed it a lot. I want to say the show I actually like learned the most though was probably Trolls, because I had to be cinematic. So like it really pushed me to learn that like how you would board for like a feature film or something. I actually learned a lot from that. And the crew was cool on that as well. Like it was I don't think I've had luckily I haven't had like too bad of a crew. I think every show I've worked on it's been pretty cool. I do know if I could work on any movie that's in production right now, it would definitely be The Bad Guys too. Oh my god. Like I would love to work on The Bad Guys. That would be awesome. TV show, I know it would have been like Gumball, but Gumball's been over unless it's coming back. I keep hearing like mixed things if that's coming back or not. Sorry, hang on. I could do that. There we go. Yeah, so show would be Gumball if it was still airing, and then definitely would love to work on The Bad Guys too. But I'm not in the feature. Yeah, I'm not in the feature department yet. Maybe one day. I think I'm aiming for that. It's weird. Maybe like this. Keep wanting to do the lips. Cheeks. I do kind of like the way the white's going around. Actually, I think it's just because it's connected to the cheeks. It's like throwing me off. Maybe like this. that. Man, my brain's like, oh, hang on, maybe better shape here. This clone could be cooler. 15% cooler. Yeah, funny. I haven't drawn a clown in forever. Ooh. When doing character turnarounds, are there any tips to keep each character's? Yep, I did that. I walked you through the. If you missed that, I know it's recorded, but yeah, I addressed the character angle thing. Any tips on how to board a good fight scene in case you're asked to do that? Yes. Like any scene you're gonna be asked to board, watch a lot of reference. So like if you're gonna have to board a car chase, watch some car chases. If you want to board fight sequences, I mean, honestly, anime's got some of the best fight sequences. So reference some of the, was it the Sakuga stuff is pretty good. I was actually having to reference it recently because I was doing an action sequence and our fight sequence. I mean, so yeah, it's just honestly, it's all about like reference and stuff. Just watch a lot of it, take it in. See how they're using the shots to go, like, from example for like a punch to the face to something else, like kind of look at the shot choices they're using when they decide to cut, how wide the shot is to see all the action. I do know stereotypically I hear this a lot, that a lot of American like fight sequences are too close in on the action, so you're kind of missing what's going on. So whereas like if you watch like martial art movies, it's actually pulled back so you can see everything. So no, that's a big thing. Like, don't be afraid to be wider to show what's going on. Like you don't have to have every shot be like in the fist point of view, if that makes sense. Like you can be in a wider shot. Did you work on boards and designs remotely, or do you go into the studio right now? Yeah, I'm working remotely. I've been mostly working remotely since the pandemic, just because I haven't been working for a studio since the pandemic. Like right now, I'm just kind of like doing freelance gigs to keep the lights on until the industry figures out what it's doing, whatever it's doing. Just kind of wait for it to figure that out. But yeah, right now I'm just working remote. And then I think the pandemic also opened up a lot of people's eyes to the fact that you can do stuff remote, which I know a lot of people are happy about, but I got to be honest, I actually like going to the studio. Um, I would prefer to have the work home balance life, but that's not going to be happening since, everything's kind of remote now. But I actually do like going into the studios. Have you ever gotten scripts with jokes, dialogue you didn't like, and how do you go about boarding them? Do you try to punch them up, or do you just do as you're told? It depends. I've definitely been on a show where they were kind of phoning in the scripts, so I had to plus up a lot of stuff because the jokes weren't landing. So I had to basically kind of like take it upon myself, be like, it'd be funnier if this happened. But honestly, there's been shows too where it's like someone on, like a writer or someone will be like, no, I don't want, or the director will not want that sequence changed. Like, so then you have to follow the script. And then sadly at the end of the day, like I tell people this all the time, like, when you're working on a designing or storyboarding for a job, like it's the job. So there's always gonna be points where you're gonna be like, man, I would like to do it this way, or like I don't necessarily like this script all the time, all the way, but like that's what they wrote, that's what they want. So job's a job. Like you're working with a team on working to get someone, like something else done, someone else's show done. So I mean, I think there's a script I was like really not happy with, but I don't think so. I mean, I've had scripts where I'm like, this is kind of like not that funny, but like I said, it's at the end of the day, it's a job. I do my best, and if they want something in there that I don't think is funny, I'll just put it in there. Like I do remember there's this one time I was kind of like, I was a little bummed out because I tend to like puns, and I boarded this scene and added this dialogue where it was puns, and he was like, "I don't do puns," so I was like, "Oh man!" But it was such a waste. Like it was a really good one, but I mean, they run the show, so I mean, at the end of the day, too, it's like think about it like this: like when it goes on air, not everyone knows everything that went on behind the curtains, but I mean, you just do what you can. I mean, do what you gotta do the job, yada yada. And then if you want to do it yourself, you guys work on your own stuff at home. I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it myself. Like it's job's a job. I do my best, and then hey, if like they don't use the joke, I can always use it for my own material, right? So there you go. Do you have any advice for beginning board artists still working on a portfolio to show studios recruiters? Yes. I always tell people try to get at least like 3 good boards done. If you know what you want to focus on, like let's say you want to do comedy or action adventure, definitely focus on that for your boards. And then I've been hearing mixed things about this. I tell people to try to do a complete story when you're doing boards, like a quick little complete short. But I've heard like, that doesn't matter anymore. But at the same time, too, I don't know. When I've had to review portfolios, I do kind of like a little short story that shows like beginning, middle, and end. But it doesn't necessarily need to be a complete story. But definitely pick what you want to focus on, career wise. Like if you want to do more like or more action, or honestly the smartest thing to do is like make sure your story has like all of it, like it has comedy, has action, especially with like things nowadays, because I think most shows in demand right now are like what action comedies, prime time, that kind of stuff. So and preschool, I know preschool and prime time are the big ones right now. If you guys are curious like what a lot of people are doing in animation right now, it seems to be a lot of like prime time and preschool currently. So I don't know, but and I mean, if you want to do feature, that's a whole different ball game. Then do I do know a tip for feature. If you want to do feature boards, they do like when you shade your panels, so definitely keep that in mind because I've been told that. Like I have my boards, I've been told are actually pretty like they're good enough for feature, but they need some shading, I guess is what they like. So I don't know. It's good to know, I guess. For the record, I don't usually not gonna have time to like sit there and shade them all, but I guess for portfolio they like seeing like shaded cinematic boards and stuff like that. When doing turnarounds, was there any problem like how Has Been Hotel used their characters that are incorrect? Try to think why that would happen. I'm not entirely sure the process of Has Been if they do. I feel like some shots are puppeted rigs and some are drawn like frame by frame, I think, from certain shots. It's been a while since I've watched the whole thing. I feel like some sequences they really had to draw it. But the other thing I could think of is in that it sounds like either the turnaround wasn't done correctly, like I said, that's why it's really important to have a turnaround done correct, because turnarounds are technical and everyone's gonna reference them. From animate to board artists, from to animators to everyone. So it's like if you mess up a turnaround and then it goes into the whole production, you kind of mess up everybody. Which is why it sounds like either I guess maybe their turnarounds weren't done correctly and then it ended up being used in the pipeline, or people weren't following the turnarounds. Like that could be a thing. Like people are like, nah, I got it. Like I know some shows will just draw they'll actually just reference purely from the boards instead of the turnarounds. So maybe that's why the turnarounds were wrong. I know there's also the mistake where people will just flip the rig instead of actually using, like, let's say you have a 3/4 rig and then you just flip it to go the other way. But the problem is like I think a lot of has-been characters and characters in that aren't symmetrical, they're asymmetrical. So the problem is you can't just flip the rig. And I think what happens a lot of time in production when animators are rushing is they will just flip the rig and then it's wrong because they're not symmetrical. That's also if you want to save time and not have to stress about that in your animation, remember in your character designs, if you make stuff asymmetrical, then you have to constantly worry about um, props or assets being on the right side, which could be kind of annoying if you need to just like go things quick, animate quickly. And if animators don't have time, they will just flip the rig. Like they're not gonna sit there and put a brand new rig because it also saves time in animating to just flip it. You have everything you've already drawn in the rig, and then you just make it move. So, like, yeah, making things symmetrical in design for just streamline's sake could save you time. It's just like a good thing to, think about. I think there could be like crazier stuff on this clown. Clown, I feel like you need something. Maybe I should have went with the blazer. I feel like the blazer would have been more fun. Let's see. I think that was all the questions, unless someone else had another question. Right now, I'm just designing this clown, trying to make it more interesting. I feel like it's gonna come in the color phase. I feel the color phase. I don't know. So this is just coming from random colors. Oh, I could actually walk you through the process of how I pick colors sometimes. I mean, I could use the colors from this the pure ref, but I kind of find it better. I don't know. Color palette generator. Let's see. Like I'll go to this site called Coolers. Coolers. Yes. Yeah, so like there's a site called Cooler. You just pretty much just like start the generator, then it'll pick colors for you. So yeah, you can very much just like keep generating colors. See if something matches your fancy. Yeah, you just press spacebar. And you just go through like color palettes. Wow, that seems very America. Let's see. Whoa. You could also like just like lock, like let's say you like a color, you could just like lock it. Kind of like that color. So it'll just keep shifting amongst these colors. Let's see. Ew. I don't know. Whatever. That'll work. So yeah, I'll just use like a color palette generator to get the colors I like. Take a quick screenshot. Hopefully that doesn't mess up zoom. I don't think it messes up zoom. I'll just drag it in. Color. I don't know, did you ever save that? Where did you go? All right. And then you have your color palette. And it's that simple. I have my colors. Is there any, check if anything interesting has happened currently. God. Kind of funny. I already see a color I don't want to use. Yeah, and you just pretty much have your colors from there. Oh. Oh God, what is this? These are the worst colors ever. I think there's any wisdom. Yeah, because you guys should be designing or getting ready for portfolios. Are most people character or storyboarding in this in the old chat? Also, yeah, if you had any more questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. I think I went through all of them. I think I went through them. There's God, I did pick weird colors. These are wonky colors. Ew. Okay. Nope. These are terrible. These are terrible. Just gonna have to make my own. That is way too bright. Gold. Okay. I don't know. Sometimes when it comes to color, I like have in mind what I want to do. And sometimes I don't. I feel like this clown won't look like a clown until I add some of the stereotypical things. Yeah, all these colors are weird. I get the weird colors. Let's see. I am a fan of the light blues. I feel like it's kind of weird. I tell people like when I get tired, I'll hear that like clown music kicking in. Kind of feeling that while I draw a clown though. The loopy music. But do like a cool little color thing with this, so it just looks frizzy or something.
Hey Nick, I think there's 2 more questions in the Q&A if you want to take a look.
Okay. There you go. Let's see. When generating a color palette, do you add another color for your character's skin tone, or do you approach the skin tone within the set palette? It really depends. If you want to stick pure, like I literally already ventured off the color palette because I just wasn't happy with these colors. It really depends on you. Like if you want to practice and strictly stick to just the color palette, go for it. But otherwise, what you're doing is you're kind of using it almost like a jump off point and kind of just like getting colors you're comfortable. Like think about it almost like a jumping off point. If you're not happy with the colors, you can pick colors you like, and you can also take the same color, like this was on here, but also just make it lighter if you want. Like it's not about following it strictly. It's really just so I feel like a lot of people when they're first starting color, me included, sometimes I'll just literally be sitting there like I don't know what I'm feeling for this character. So I'll just use the color generator as a jumping off point. It just kind of helps I mean, you might not even be, you might end up doing like a totally different color pass. Like for example, a recent character I designed recently named Riot, I did that with. And I even kind of went through, real quick, you can kind of see, because I haven't put notes for it. I was designing my character's Smile's siblings. If you follow my stuff, you've seen them recently, but like at that. Let me see these two characters right here. Yeah, so like example, these characters, Laugh and Riot. When I was designing Riot, I actually broke down the stuff, and you guys could get the exclusive only on my Patreon thing since we're talking about character designs. But I basically broke down my thought process a little bit. And so this was kind of like my thought process when I was designing her. Like I had my first pass. I knew she was gonna be like twin, last younger twin, and she's a streamer, so I wanted her to look kind of like somewhat fashionable. These are kind of like the references I was using for it. Um, I kind of really liked the way the ears went from hair to ears, and just like some of these like fashion things and the oversized shirt with like the tights leading into the socks and the shoes and all that stuff. So like kind of did this first pass, did a second pass because this felt a little too like she was outdoorsy. So I kind of wanted to feel more like she was indoorsy. But like I said, like I had this like first color palette and I just wasn't happy with it. So I did a couple of color passes and kind of broke down why I did them. But like I actually did like this color palette, but I don't know. I think I was just trying to do something a little opposite because like girl characters, a lot of times it'll be like pinks and purples. So I was like, what if I do more like a blue with the hot pink? And then I was kind of having an issue where my eye kept going to her sweater. So I kind of had to go darker so that your eye immediately goes to the face. Like yet, like when you're doing colors and stuff, you want to make sure your eye is kind of going to their face first because that's where a lot of the acting is gonna happen. And with the facial expressions and stuff like that. But it's kind of the same thing. Like you could do different color passes and experiment with your character. My God, I'm sorry. This is just to me. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm like, this is what I'm doing on the stream. This clown, really? But yeah, it's just like picking colors you're happy with. It's just a jumping off point to be these colors, or it doesn't have to be the exact colors from the generator at all. How can I save this? I feel like I'm having like a coloring nightmare thing or something. We have 24 hours to fix this picture. Yeah. No. It's made it terrible. Probably a blue would save it. Blue. Oh my gosh, everything's blue. Let me see. Do some a little more here. And then, knowing the, basic foundations of color too helps. That looked weird. That looked weird. Maybe it's a vest. Let me see. Let me see. Hmm. I'm like actually like, wait, these colors are wonky. And you didn't switch. And I always go darker at some point too. And it's happening. Having one of those let him cook moments. Let him cook. Let him cook. Yes. Color like you're not on stream. Let me see. That same layer. Oh, also, just a tip. If you're having trouble with color, I will do this where color stuff on separate layers, and then you could just like alter the colors. You know what I mean? Like if I'm not happy with the hair, you can always put it on a separate layer and then just mess with it to see. You know what I mean? Like let's say I don't want red. I'll just put it on a separate layer and then do the over color thing. See if I like those colors better. You know what I mean? If you especially when you're doing professional work, try to keep your like if you know you're gonna have to do color notes, if it helps to just keep them somewhat separated so you can edit them quicker. Otherwise, you're gonna end up repainting, which could be a pain. So yeah, keep that in mind. Like, don't be afraid to like put stuff on different layers if it'll save you work later on. Because shifting colors, which will happen a lot because stuff usually correct on the first pass. You know how that goes. It'll be something like that. Then I saw, was it one more question? Oh yeah, the classic question about burnout. Have you ever experienced burnout or knew someone that had it while working on a project, TV show? If so, how did you assess it? I reached my first ever burnout during the pandemic. I like literally I almost had like a meltdown because it was like all it was doing was working and I was in pure isolation because I live alone. So like I actually did get burnout and it was bad. Um the hard part is like when you get burnout and you're on the job, you kind of have to like somewhat control it because otherwise you're gonna lose your job. So it's kind of tough. Like you have to kind of power through it. Otherwise, I always advise people like if you can take a break, um, and like kind of step back, take a breather, kind of like take in what's making you feel that way, if that makes sense. And like, yeah, you just kind of have to. Sorry, like because of me personally, I've had to always power through it most of the time. I'm like, it's definitely advised to like take a break, otherwise you make it worse. When it comes to someone else assessing their burnout, I just, like I said, once again, it depends if you're on the job or not. If you're not on the job, a lot of people go and take a vacation after that project or something to recuperate, and this would probably be better way. I am realizing, actually, that's better. But yeah, with burnout, it's totally like it comes to, like I said, if you have to keep a job, you're gonna have to power through it. If you can afford it and take a vacation and step away and like take a breather and recuperate, then I strongly recommend it because it's just, having good mental health. I feel like this should be a purple. This should be a purple. Stop fighting me. Stop. Yeah, see, like, this would have been better if I put the vest on its own layer, then I could have just used the overlay color thingy. I don't know. It kind of looks cute. God, but now it matches the sleeves. Ah, we have Color, folks, color. Yeah, like I said, if it takes you a while to get your colors down, don't be afraid about it. It's fine. If you're on the job, I think most of the time you're not even the color. If you're the character designer, you're actually not the color designer. It's two separate jobs most of the time. So all you'll do is do the designs, and then it'll go to the color designer who will add the color for you. You're actually just doing the turnarounds, the special poses, and yeah, special poses. Oh, and designs, of course. Like if you need to do brand new design for a character, then you are doing that as well. But yeah, just so you know, color is a separate job most of the time. You're not actually you just gotta do the line work. And then they put in the color for you later. I don't know, that looks fine. That's a weird looking clown. I don't know if I'd want to see this guy follow me up one day or something. Look at yeah. I don't know. There you go. That's a clown. That's a clown. What advice would you possibly give for an animation portfolio? Yes. Since I started as an animator first, it's basically you got to show that you can animate. Because so first off, you got to pick if you're doing 2D or 3D. That's important. I mean, you can have both, but honestly, these days I think it's better to have a 2D and a 3D separately, just to show the strengths easier. Because I know when I was going to school, we had both, but I think it's easier now to just have, separately. Um, for animation, you're gonna want to do like lip syncing. Like you can have your, classic cycles, like walk cycles, run cycles. But I'd focus more on the actings, taking like dialogue from the internet and then animating to it and putting that in your demo reel. I feel like that's really important. It's like if you go to, was it Anim Squad has a bunch of like demo reels, but you just show you could show acting. I was gonna say you should be able to make a good rig, but I mean you should, but at the same time too, rigging is also a separate job, so that is also different. But yeah, just show you can animate. It doesn't need to be a complete story or anything unless you want to do a cool short, which you can. But honestly, for animation demo reels, you're just doing demo reels, so it's just animating to dialogue for, and maybe have it about a minute and a half long. But I feel like that's for any demo reel, you want it to be about a minute and a half. Yeah, you don't need to be like crazy long. And then I know I always get advice like don't pick too much of an annoying music, but a lot of times uh yeah, definitely don't pick music that'll cancel out your dialogue animation. That would suck. Like, get the dialogue and the animation well. After being fired, should it be not part of a resume for work experiment? That depends. I mean, if you want to put, here's the thing, when you're making a resume, you're not actually putting, like, think about it like this. When you do your resume, you're not putting you don't usually on a resume don't put why the job ended. You're usually putting like what you've done. So like if you don't need, like, you know what I mean? Like your resume is literally full of like your skills, where you went to school, education, and then jobs you've done. But you're not listing like my job ended, so or the season ended. Like that's a totally different like thing. You don't put that on your resume. If you want to put on your resume, you can, like if you were on that job for a while and you feel like definitely helped on the show and you didn't like leave on bad terms or anything, I'd say put it on there. I personally don't put the We Bare Bears thing on my resume because I wasn't there long enough for me. So I just don't feel like putting it on there, if that makes sense. I was only there for 2 weeks. So like for me, I'm like, I don't know if that's really an experience. Like that, and like I think it would look weird to be like, wait, you were there for 2 weeks. And I don't even know, usually you put like months and it was 2 weeks. So I don't think I even put like 2 weeks there, you know what I mean? So I actually don't include that on my resume. But like I said, it's up to you how you feel about it. For me, like I said, since it was only 2 weeks, I don't feel like I got anything to be like I experienced the show. So I don't put it on my resume. And it's not even just because I was fired from it. It's just I don't feel like it would contribute because I wasn't there long enough. I don't know if you've been asked this question, but have you tried to apply to be a film storyboard character designer? If so, is the process different than when you applied for television shows? When you're applying for feature, I think the thing is, and I've noticed, okay, so here's the thing, right? I'll reference a lot of those like art of books or anything like that to see what feature projects are doing for production. And I feel like that's the kind of stuff you'll probably want in your portfolio to apply for feature. So, like looking at my portfolio now, it's definitely TB. But I feel like for feature, I'd have to like push my shape language more, and maybe the designs would have to be, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like my coloring and stuff would have to be rendered better. You have that more like painterly style, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like, I honestly would reference like art of books and even like look up professionals who are already in feature and what their portfolios look like. But I feel like the difference is it's kind of like how I was saying for storyboarding, you shade your boards. It's almost the same with like character design. It's like you almost need to like push your character designs a little more and have a little more polished rendering for applying for feature jobs. I feel like that's really it though. That's being the biggest difference. But also I am just realizing the time. And I already finished the clown. I didn't know if there was any last questions or anything, or what do you need from me, Stephanie, on that, Jazz? I don't think that was the last question.
Um, yeah, well, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Nick.
Oh, no
Um,
problem.
all right, so I'm gonna stop recording, and then everyone before you leave, we'll take like a big like I'll take a screenshot. We'll take like a group photo. So just give me a second.